ख़वातीन व हज़रात अस्सलाम वालेकुम। टेबल टॉक विद मुक़ीम अहमद में आप सबको खुशामदीद। गुज़िश्ता 4 रोज़ से पाकिस्तान में एक ही मौजू टेलीविज़न स्क्रीनों की ज़ीनत बना हुआ है। गली मोहल्लों से लेकर अखबारात के सफ़ात तक, निजी महफ़िलों से इक़्तिदार के ऐवानों तक, अगर कोई चीज़ ज़ेर बहस है तो वो ब्रॉडशीट LLC को नैब की जानिब से 28.7 मिलियन डॉलर की अदायगी है, जो कि लंदन की अदालत के फैसले के बाद की गई है। इससे जुड़े मौज़ूआत और शख्सियात भी ज़ेर बहस हैं। नाज़रीन, सन 2000 में जबकि जनरल परवेज़ मुशर्रफ बरसर इक़्तिदार थे, नैब ने ब्रॉडशीट LLC और इंटरनेशनल एसेट रिकवरी नामी कंपनीज के साथ दो पाकिस्तानी अफराद के गैर मुल्की अकाउंट्स और जायदादों का खोज लगाने के लिए मुआहिदा किया। ब्रॉडशीट ने मियां नवाज शरीफ के खानदान, इंटरनेशनल एसेट रिकवरी ने भुट्टो फैमिली के असासाजात की तहकीकात करना थी। मुआहिदे में यह तय पाया था कि ये कंपनियां जो असासे ढूंढेंगी उनका 20% उन्हें बतौर मुआवजा दिया जाएगा। नैब ने 2003 में जरूरी अपनाए बगैर दोनों मुआहिदों को तोड़ दिया। इसके नतीजे में मुमकिना कानूनी कार्रवाई से बचने के लिए सालसी का तरीका इख्तियार किया गया। हमारे आज के मेहमान ब्रॉडशीट LLC के CEO मुसावी हैं। Mr. Moussavi, welcome to Table Talk with Muqeem Ahmed.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Moussavi, you have become a legend in Pakistan political history, as you have seen that all the media is after you day and night. All the time you are on the Pakistan television screens. There is a big curiosity that who is Mr. Moussavi, where he studied, what he did. People are asking questions. They want to know you, sir. What would you like to share with our viewers?
I'm hoping that I'm a humble servant of the people of Pakistan. When General Hafiz came to see me and he said, you know, as your employee, I said, no, you don't employ me. It's the people of Pakistan who employ me, and just as the people of Pakistan employ you, General. The real employer that I have are the people of Pakistan, whose wealth has been stolen, pilfered over the last 70-something years by a corrupt oligarchy, and I was retained in the year 2000 in order to find those assets, because I came with a bit of a reputation and somebody who is, I hope, an indefatigable fighter for the cause of human rights. You know, I've been shot at, I've been threatened, I've been thrown to jail, and I've suffered the price for it. But as you can see, I'm still here walking and fighting. So through your camera, I'd like to say you're speaking to a humble servant of 2 million plus Pakistani citizens.
It's good to have you. Mr. Moussavi, your name reminds me of Kaveh Ahangar, who is mentioned in Shahnama by great writer Firdausi. And I am hoping that our coming generations will read about you like a revolutionary who set up a new way of fighting with the tyranny. And this time it's not Zahak. This time it's some different type of Zahaks who looted or plundered the money. So your name, was it from that character? I'm sorry.
Yes, my parents decided that that should be the right name, and they did their best to bring me up in the tradition that is that fights for the cause of the poor and for the cause of justice. And that's I hope I've lived up to that expectation. It's been very, very punitive. It's been very costly, but I wouldn't do anything other than what I've done in this. You know, my family have suffered as a result. So I've lost a lot of friends. I had a huge battle with the government of Mexico 30 years ago, in which I exposed one of the biggest corruptions. The minister had to resign. The government went into collapse after that. And so it's not the first time that I've fought corrupt governments, and I have no doubt it won't be the last, unless my maker decides that he should take me sooner and he should stop me inflicting pain on the corrupt and the crooks. But here I am, I'm continuing this endeavor, and it will continue for as long as I'm around. Yeah.
Right, sir. if we move to this burning issue for broadsheet,
Yeah.
people want to know. I mean, I don't want to irritate you or repeat my questions, which everybody's asking. So I will try my best to be short and sweet, and will try to get information as much as we can within little time.
Don't
So,
don't worry. I have a thick skin. It's okay. You can ask whatever you want. Don't feel just do your job serving the people of Pakistan. Feel free to ask any question you wish.
right, I will take the liberty in that case. Okay, why Broadsheet was formed and what projects were completed by Broadsheet?
Well, why it was formed? I used to run a seminar at Oxford University along with a few others on remedies in international human rights law, and obviously international human rights involves corruption and fighting against corruption. And corruption is a big problem. One reason why children die of hunger, one reason why children die of thirst, one reason why children die of health problems is because ministers steal the money that is the budget for health, clean water, education, etc. So it's a fundamental human right to resources of the community, which is when it's been stolen by politicians. Clearly, it is a fundamental human rights issue. The social, economic, cultural rights of the people are being jeopardized, not to mention the political rights, the civic rights by corrupt politicians. So the effort at extending and deepening the cause of human rights involves issues such as corruption. So when I became the head of public interest law at the University of Oxford, the kind of things that we were doing, I mean, we did Guantanamo Bay cases, we did right to health cases in litigation in South Africa in the Constitutional Court, in the right of people to receive medical attention, this kind of thing. So we already were involved in this kind of activity. And then at the time when General Musharraf came to power, they reached out to us and we said, yes, fine. But very soon I realized that the intention was to go only after the Sharif family because at the time the government of Mr. Sharif had been removed by General Musharraf. And I said, no, we cannot do this. It has to be across the board. We are not going to engage in a witch hunt. It has to be every prime minister in the past, or at least the ones that were still alive, or the ones whose resources could be accessed because of, and the evidence hadn't been destroyed because of longevity. Pakistan had been around for better part of 50 years at that time, and when the contract was signed. And so my proposal was we look at everything. And the statute of limitations for corruption and fraud investigations in Pakistan was almost indefinite. It's about 70 years. So we thought, look, we'd like to do that. That's why we set up two companies, one to go after the prime minister who just been removed and the kith and kin and the alter egos and various other, and then also another company to go after the previous one, Benazir Bhutto, Asif Zardari, et al. So that was the object. We came with a bit of a reputation for people who, we didn't compromise on, we were not bribable. We know that they knew that they couldn't. So General Musharraf, to his lasting credit at the time, he agreed that it should be investigation. The investigation should not be limited only to the Sharif family, the prime minister that he just removed, but it should be continued. I was very much encouraged by the fact that the first head of NAB, General Amjad, was a model of integrity. And I can put on the record the fact that while General Amjad and his Prosecutor General, NAB, Farooq Adam Khan, were there, things were going swimmingly. They were going extremely. We had full cooperation from NAB and disclosure of documents, requests for judicial assistance put by the government of Pakistan. We extradited General Mansour al-Haq from the United States with the assistance of the FBI. We almost arrested Mr. Lodi in Monaco. Yet by that time, unfortunately, things had gone bad. General Amjad could not continue his work. He realized that he was being sabotaged. And then Farooq Adam Khan had resigned, and people in NAB were tipping off these crooks. And I have no hesitation in calling them crooks, people who steal the wealth of the country and the country is left in the state that it's in. So we were unable to continue our work. Within 3 years of having concluded that contract, they decided we were too effective. We were coming close to finding stolen money and the friends of the rich and the powerful, and they sacked us. And of course, we went to court and we won. And the court agreed with us that we were very effective. We were finding assets. We were getting close to, I can tell you, I mean, we found traces of several $billion. I mean, it's not a question of a few million. We found traces and we were getting very close and we were sabotaged. I mean, we'd hired detectives, we had hired photographers, we were taking photographs of these people walking into banks, private banks, and this guy, and we were supplying these to NAB. And before we knew it, NAB were giving them to the crooks. So the crooks were taking precautions. They were shutting down bank accounts. They were sending them. So consequently, it became impossible to work with NAB. And I've been disappointed all along. Still, I'm an irrepressible optimist. So I'm hoping that the Imran Khan government is different. But time will tell. Time will tell. I don't know. I know not. I'm not working at the moment with the government, but I want a court order against them, and I hope they'll honor it, and we'll move on. But if the people of Pakistan feel something to say, I'm there to assist.
Mr. Moussavi, some people object that Broadsheet LLC was a newly born company and it was given such a big contract by NAB. So would you be able to explain, like, how did you get the contract, or how Broadsheet was chosen by government or NAB?
Well, one, it wasn't Broadsheet. It was the reputation of the people, some of the people behind it. Myself, Dr. Pepper, who's the lawyer of Martin Luther King, the late Martin Luther King. So we came with credentials, individual credentials. The reason why we set up a completely new company, because we wanted to keep this completely clean and separate from all other investigations that we were doing. And the reason why the government was given, the contract was given to us, was because we said we didn't want the government to pay us. We were going to fund the whole thing ourselves. Everybody else who applied, they wanted the government to pay them, the government to put up money, and they wanted to issue invoices on a monthly basis for the government to pay. We said, no, we'll finance this ourselves. And they said, well, obviously these people are very confident that they can find stolen money, because nobody puts money up unless they felt that they could, we had considerable expertise and we knew how to do these things. And that the reason why the government of Pakistan gave the contract to the Broadsheet and to International Asset Recovery were principally two. One is our reputations, so for people who are serious about this, and secondly, the fact that the government of Pakistan didn't have to put up a penny. We simply said, whatever we find, we will take 20% of what we find. So I was adamant, and I told General Musharraf at the time that I don't want the people of Pakistan to be paying us. I want the thieves to be paying us. I want the crooks to be paying us. I want this money to come from the pockets of the thieves and not from the pockets of the people of Pakistan. And the mechanism is simple. If I find the money in the account of thieves that has left Pakistan forever to buy golf courses and yachts and beautiful holidays and beautiful homes, like the Rockwood Estate, which the Bhuttos bought in Surrey, if I find that, and if I freeze it, and if I manage to take it over and sell it, and return the money to Pakistan, I'm being paid by thieves who've stolen money. It's not the people of Pakistan. The reason why we won that contract was because we said, this is the way we want to be paid. We don't want you to be out of pocket. The people of Pakistan have already suffered enough by the fact that their assets and their money has been stolen. Let us not become a burden on them anymore. Let's make sure that we take the money from the thieves rather than from them. That is the short explanation of why we were able to win the contract. But of course, we gave presentations to them, and we said, these are our capabilities. This is our undercover operational capabilities. These are our financial capabilities. These are our, and we're talking 20 years ago, remember? I mean, the world was a very different place than 20 years ago. The world wasn't the global village it is today, where every man knows what everyone else is doing. If you've got an iPhone, if you have a WhatsApp, you can be in contact with every village on the planet within instantaneously. It wasn't like that 21 years ago, remember? So when we demonstrated to NAB that we had sophisticated technology, we were at the frontiers of technological capability, they were very impressed and they gave it to us. That was why.
So basically, your company invested in this project before they could win
Correct.
money. Okay.
Correct.
Right. In earlier interviews, you mentioned that some guy named Anjum Dar, who to be nephew of Mia Nawaz Sharif, he spoke to you and offered you $25 million and you
Correct.
refused. Okay, did you get any other offer from any other client, any other person in that list of 200 people, or their aides or someone?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Asif Zardari had a fellow here in London, and I met him at his house. And Asif Zardari's white Rolls Royce was parked outside his house, Mr. Raja. And they approached us in order to come and settle the Bhutto Zardari investigation. And we said, this has got to be done through the law. It has to be done through. I met Farooq Naik. He was a senator in Pakistan at that time. He's a member of the bar here. And I did tell him when we met, I said, what you're doing, you could get disbarred, you know. So yes, there were other people who tried to do this, but we were adamant that we have to have a discussion through the law, through the courts. If you want to pay us, let's settle the case. Settle the case through the legal channels. Anjum Dar was the only reason why his name came up was because people were asking me about the Sharifs. Yeah, Anjum Dar came. I mean, to suggest that a lot of people have photographs with Mr. Sharif and I shouldn't fall for it is complete nonsense. Look, the man had a photograph in a private residence. He wasn't out of 10,000 people at a political rally coming and embracing him. 1. 2, he was embracing him in a private residence in his house. 3, he made a telephone call to someone that sounded terribly like Mr. Sharif. I've heard Mr. Sharif speak on the internet. I've heard him, and the voice was. I don't speak Urdu, sadly, but if I continue to serve the people of Pakistan, I certainly would try to learn Urdu. But it certainly sounded like Sharif. And above all, I have a witness who was in the room. I insisted that there should be a witness, and so it is. You know, the concept of prima facie evidence. There was enough prima facie evidence that this was a bona fide with much mala fides coming in with representations from the Sharifs. And the reason why it came in 2012 was simple, because it was quite obvious that this court case is going to go forward, and they knew that English judges are serious people, and they're going to ask some very serious questions, and they're going to start digging once again into the ill-gotten assets of the Sharif family, and they wanted to stop that. And I said, look, we're not out for money for this thing. We're out to, and we're fed up because we're not getting any cooperation from NAB. $25 million is much less than what we are entitled to. But you know what? If it comes through the court, if it's done legally by consent order, I'm happy to take it and go, and we'll call it a day. But one thing they were not prepared to do was do it cleanly through the court, and we were not prepared to do that. I said to Anjum Dar, Mr. Dar, you're coming to give a bribe to someone who's contracted to fight bribery. Have you thought about whether that makes sense or not? And it went in one ear, came out the other. He clearly didn't understand the concept of integrity, but that was the story.
So who was this Mr. Raja who talked to you on behalf of Mr. Zargari?
Yes, that's right. He lived in London. We got to have considerable sympathy for him because his son had just had a car crash and it killed somebody, and he went to prison, and they retained the top QC in London to defend him. I actually went to the trial. I sat there, and his son was taken to prison at that point because he had killed somebody on the streets of London accidentally, and accidents happen. I mean, and he was convicted for 3 years. He went, and I was astonished. The High Commissioner of Pakistan came and testified in the favor. I said, look, you know, I'm a vociferous enemy of corruption, but
you were contracted to find the assets of some 200 people. Was it just the assets outside Pakistan, or were the assets included in Pakistan, inside Pakistan?
Well, it wasn't assets. It was stolen assets. It wasn't. I mean, people are entitled to have legitimate assets. Yeah, it was illegitimate, unexplained wealth that we were after. Assets inside Pakistan, yes, we insisted because many of these people, as soon as I knew from long experience that the minute you get close to their money outside, they'll sell it and take it back to Pakistan. So then there will be a complete artificial distinction between a domestic asset and outside asset. And NAB tried to use the excuse to say, oh no, the agreement was that it should be outside. And we said, read your own contract and read the memorandums that went behind the contract. We were experienced people, we knew these things, and NAB were not experienced. They had no idea how to do these things. So we said, look, the reason why we insist that there should be two companies is going to be a witch hunt against just the Sharifs. One, the reason why we insist that it should be both assets inside and stolen assets inside and outside is because clearly these guys, as soon as they feel they're getting close, they'll sell their things. Or often we found in some cases where they would launder money, they would steal money, bring it outside, convert it back into rupees and bring it into the country and buy assets inside the country. And then it included all identifiable illicit assets, but not obviously assets that were from parents or obtained legitimately. One thing we found, most of these people did not get assets legitimately. They found a sharper, quicker way of going to a bank, using their connection, borrowing a significant amount of money and never paying it back. And that was a fast way of getting rich.
In London High Court, Broadsheet and your lawyers, they requested to open the volume 10 of Joint Interrogation Team's report, which was formed under the orders of Supreme Court of Pakistan. So can you tell us what was the reason that you wanted to open the volume 10?
Well, because transparency is the name of the game in this business, and we wanted to be sure that even the investigation that started after the Panama Papers came out, that was not going to be tarred with political considerations. We wanted to see everything. And in fact, Anthony Evans, the High Court judge, made a request for judicial assistance from the Supreme Court of Pakistan. And to my profound disappointment, it didn't come. We hired a top lawyer in Pakistan to go and get this. And to his lasting credit, he tried his best, and they just didn't do it. So there was a hint of, again, political shenanigans going on, and we never were able to obtain that. So if the government of Pakistan is serious and they want to investigate this properly, and if they find a connection outside, they'll have to give me eventually volume 10 so I can see what's in them. I suspect I know what's in there, but it'd be nice to have it confirmed. Most of the guesswork we did was based on triangulation, algorithms, mathematical probabilities of, if someone has a airline air miles card, for example, and they keep traveling to Switzerland, you begin to wonder, what is it in Switzerland they keep going to Switzerland for? And then you begin to think there must be some banking secrecy that they go to Switzerland for. So what you do is you hire detectives in Switzerland and they hang around the airport, and the guy comes, they start taking photographs, they trace him, they follow him. And if he keeps going to a bank, you may not have the bank account number, but it's a reasonable guess that he's got an account in there. And why would he keep an account in Switzerland? Because of banking secrecy. So it's exactly the same thing that prevailed here. We like to see what's in that volume 10. Because we suspect it will confirm what we know to the tune of about 80–85% certainty already about the assets of the Sharif family, the illicits, but they never disclosed them. And you know why they didn't disclose them? I suggest because the Pakistani powers that be, as opposed to Pakistani people, they always like to make a deal. And Mr. Sharif, who's supposed to be in prison today, is in London. That suggests to me that there's a deal has been made. And that suggests to me one reason why volume 10 wasn't made available to you or to me was because they wanted to say, look, we know all this stuff, so, would you like to clear off to London? So he's in London. It's a comfortable prison, Avonfield Apartments, So I think you've got the answer. Yeah.
Sir, request for attachment of Avonfield Apartments. Was it your decision, your lawyer's decision, or was it suggested by somebody else?
No, it was ours. We knew that they were living in Avonfield, and we thought, well, let's put a charge on it. and we did. But because we intended to move in, freeze the assets, seize it, and sell it, throw them out. But before we did that, we found other money that belonging to the government of Pakistan, and we seized it. And when we seized it, we're not crooks. We don't want any more money than we're entitled to. We're entitled to approximately $30 million, which is what the court has ordered. And so we found other money and we seized it. We still owed another $2 million, which I'm hoping and expecting, because I see signs that the Imran Khan government is different. I'm hoping it's different. I don't, and that they'll obey court orders. I'm disappointed with Shahzad Akbar because he came in with all this song and dance that we're a law-abiding government. I said, well, then obey a court order. And they didn't until we had to go and seize the asset. So the Avonfield apartments, we let it go. So the spin that the Sharifs are putting on this, that, you know, it exonerates them, it does nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. They are a bunch of crooks. There's no question about that. From what we investigated, you know, I don't mince my words, as you know. I think the Nawaz Sharif family are crooks, and they've looted the wealth of the country. They've paid everybody off so that they let them go, and we were able to come across enough evidence in our investigation to show that they are. So to put a spin on this nonsense and say that the fact that the Avonfield apartments were not seized by Broadsheet exonerates them, it does nothing of the sort. The reason why the reason why we let the Avonfield apartments go is because we were able to seize other assets, other money.
What is the size, quantity, or what would be the biggest account, if you can remember, out of the list of 200 which you saw? What would be the numbers? What would be the biggest account or asset or anything like that?
I have received in one account there's over $1 billion US. A reason to believe.
Under one
and I
person's name?
alerted under one group's name. It's not a corporate account, but it's an eyeball coterie of people with and over $1 billion. And I gave this information to NAB and they showed no interest. I told Mr. Shahzad Akbar about it. He showed no interest at all, none whatsoever. So as a spokesman on behalf of the people of Pakistan, yourself as a media anchor, I think you should put this question to them. When Mr. Moussavi and Broadsheet alerted you through the lawyers, not on the telephone privately, through the lawyers, there's an official document we wrote to them, and we said we have come across information. They completely ignored it, completely. Now, next time spokesmen of NAB and government of Pakistan start looking into this, the question you should be putting to them is, why didn't the letter that the lawyers of Broadsheet wrote to NAB regarding $1 billion of stolen money in an account in South Asia, why didn't it elicit any response from NAB? It's a question that I think I have the answer, but I think you're entitled to an answer.
Sir, you mentioned a transfer of $1 billion, but normally, since after 9/11, any payment of over $10,000, it gets flagged up in the clearing houses, and bank would ask or try to verify even their long-time customers. But how come the NCA or any other institutions didn't bother to check it, or how they can get away with it?
Well, isn't this a question NAB should be asking rather than you asking it? I'm glad you're asking this question, but NAB have never asked that question. So why not? Thank you for asking it. These are the questions you asked. You're absolutely right.
Right, sir. And we are heading towards the end, but I just need to clarify a couple of things. Mr. Nawaz Sharif's son said that they have been exonerated by the London High Court.
Okay, all right. So that's a nice joke, but
and I would the decision by Sir Anthony Evans. Would Mr. Sharif had the copy of that decision as well?
Well, I can see that NAB. We in Broadsheet we call NAB a sieve. You know what a sieve is? You put vegetables in it, and when you come to wash it, the vegetables stay and the water goes. It leaks. NAB we call the sieve. It leaks like anything. So would I be surprised if Sharif, who's the target of the investigation, has the document? I wouldn't be at all surprised. With the NAB as it was under its previous administrations. I'm hoping the current one is better. I don't know, but. It'd be nice if they paid us and obeyed the court order, but I wouldn't be at all surprised. If you ask that question, I'd say it's a very fair question. And the answer, if I were to speculate, I'd say he probably does have it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why? Because you said...
And yes, if he's read the report, and if he's read the report, know that he's not exonerated. He would know that it's a complete nonsense to claim that it's... The Sharifs are taking advantage of the fact that arbitrations are confidential, and much of this is not coming out. But of course, in the jamboree of politics, the hullabaloo of politics of Pakistan, people leak information to each other. I'm not saying in Pakistan, just look at the United States under the circus that Trump has started. So, I mean, it's nothing unique about Pakistan, but the fact is that documents get leaked. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have it. But if they have it, they would know that the assertion that the Light Court exonerated them is about as true as I could come up with some good examples. But okay, it's nonsense, complete nonsense.
Would you make Sir Anthony Evans' decision public? Because it's between the parties.
If I am libeled, as I was by Minister Shahzad Akbar, I have warned the government of Pakistan. If they libel me, I'm going to publish it. I will publish it. And once I publish it, they'll all shut up. They'll know that this is not the case. I'm hoping there's integrity in the new government. I see all the signs that the current government is made of different material than the previous governments. I'm not giving it a clean bill of health yet. I remain very skeptical, but I can see signs. At least they're trying. The previous ones aren't even trying. At least these chaps in the government, Imran Khan, are trying. But I get the impression they're trying, and I'm several thousand miles away. But the information I have is that it appears as though they're trying. So yes, that's all I can say in this context. Yeah. But if they continue, Shahzad Akbar has libeled me. He used the word, I was trying to skim money of Pakistan. No, I was trying to take money from the thieves of Pakistan and give the money, original money, back. If he doesn't know the difference between skimming and restitution, he needs to go back to school and sit on a school bench and start going back and start learn the ABC of the English language.
He's been blamed by one of the leaders of Nawaz Sharif's party that he has asked the cut from you, and now they are going into litigation.
Well, look, they say those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. I don't think anybody who has any association with Nawaz Sharif can make any accusations of corruption against anybody, including Shahzad Akbar, who has libeled me. I don't think any accusation made by the Sharif family is credible when it comes to these things. But if the matter goes to the High Court, and I have been libeled, and I'm considering legal action to force Shahzad Akbar to withdraw that comment. If we have to, then the matter will be openly discussed in the High Court, and we'll see who's saying the truth. He can apologize and he can end this, but
I can break you a news that I tried to get hold of a copy of Sir Anthony Evans' decision, but that was refused from two official sources. I was not going, I was not trying to do anything stupid. So I requested, and they said, I've got the emails. Actually, if my producer can show it, there are two emails from the officials. They said that it's between two parties and arbitration is a private matter, but if they want to disclose it, they can disclose. So anyway, that could have been a very interesting thing if it was open and public. So there is another question. Jerry James, he took some money from NAB and Broadsheet, Colorado. So did you know him? Did you work with him? Did you had any
Of course,
connection?
yeah, of course I knew Jerry, but I think the thrust of your question, I know where it's going.
Sir.
Sir Anthony Evans found that Broadsheet was a victim of a conspiracy to defraud engaged in by the government of Pakistan, by NAB, and Jerry James. And this other fellow, his associate Tariq Malik. They took $1.5 million from NAB when they shouldn't, when Broadsheet didn't exist. It was in bankruptcy, and I was the only person who owned, Broadsheet at the time. And when Ahmed Bilal Sufi came to see me, I told him very clearly, in the presence of my legal colleague as well, that he could not negotiate about Broadsheet because Broadsheet was in liquidation. Yet, an advocate of the Supreme Court of Pakistan goes ahead and signs a deal with a company that I've told him is in liquidation. Any first-year law student looking at those documents would have seen that this is a fraud. If you see the settlement documents between NAB and the fake Broadsheet, there are gaps in sentences. It talks about Broadsheet Gibraltar. Broadsheet is a company in the Isle of Man. It's not in Gibraltar. It talks about figures that don't exist. It's got mistakes in identity of the company. It's a complete sham. When Sir Anthony Evans said it stretches credulity to believe that NAB did not know that they were dealing with a sham company, that's Sir Anthony Evans. He says that's why in his conclusion, the last page of the 80-page judgment on the merits, Sir Anthony says Broadsheet was a victim of a conspiracy to defraud it, engaged in by NAB, by the government of Pakistan, and these individuals. So when I say NAB is a conspiracy to defraud, it's a fraudulent institution masquerading as an accountability bureau. Look at the judgment of Sir Anthony Evans. That's what he says. Now, I'm not saying that NAB is like that today, okay? Yeah, because I've seen no evidence that it is like that today. And as I repeat, I genuinely, at least I'm still inclined to believe that the government of Imran Khan is trying to clean things up, okay? But NAB, as it then was a fraudulent enterprise, fooling the people of Pakistan into believing that it's engaged in trying to find stolen money. It was nothing of the sort, and the judge found. Jerry James, he was not a brilliant man, and he didn't have to be a brilliant man, because if you look at the documents, you will find that any first-year law student would have seen this as a sham. I was quite shocked when I issued the notice of arbitration in November of 2009. Within 2 days, I had a call from the High Commissioner saying, but this has been settled. I said, High Commissioner, who's it been settled with? And I said to him, High Commissioner, wait, so I owe money to my neighbor, and I call my cousin and say, come, I'm going to give you that money. And then my neighbor comes and says, where's my money? He said, oh, I gave it to the party that I owed it to. But I'm the creditor, not the. NAB conspired with Jerry to go and pay somebody. They knew our claim was hundreds of millions of dollars, and they thought they could close this down by $1.5 million. And I told them that not so. And by the way, NAB knows this to be true, and yet they have continued to lie to the people of Pakistan. The proof of the lying that they know, they've gone and sued the Jerry James estate. They've sued the Jerry James estate. If NAB, if you genuinely believe that what you did was right, then why have you gone and sued them? Because you should be standing with them against us. They haven't done that. You see, that's why I think transparency is the light that brings out all the dirt and the rats that live in the sewer and come out when it's dark. Light exposes the crooks. Yeah.
Mr. Moussavi, you said that you are even willing to return the money out of your pocket to Pakistani people. what sort
Yes.
of amount is in your mind, and what sort of guarantee you are asking that it will be in safe hands, it will be used for the welfare of the Pakistani people? What sort of guarantee, what warranty, what words, or who from who would you like to hear?
I think the integrity of General Amjad and the integrity of Farooq Adam Khan were credentials enough at that time. I thought if I'm dealing with men like Amjad and I'm dealing with men like Farooq Adam Khan, I'm not going to have a problem. So we did discuss this when we get this money. The money that we recovered wasn't supposed to come to Broadsheet's account. If ever I sign a government with Pakistan, I'm going to put in place protocols that make sure that it will ensure this doesn't happen again. We trusted the government of Pakistan that we found, and we froze, and we got the government to take it. We'd be paid. It didn't happen. We found money. Far long before they took it, they cut a deal with the crook, and they let the crook keep some of the money, and they stole the rest of it, or some of it came to NAB. I know not. What I do know is the testimonies before Sir Anthony Evans at the Quantum hearing are fascinating. NAB officers talking about their own commissions. NAB officers, ex-officers talking about their own commissions. One officer of NAB came in the tribunal, and we were absolutely gobsmacked. Our lawyers were sitting there. They could, did you hear that? This is a former official of NAB saying, I didn't get my commission either. Now, please stop to reflect on what I've just said. That is the depth of the corruption and the fraud that defined NAB in those years.
Sir, my last question. During the struggle of 20 years, getting the assets, then the NAB, then getting the decision of Sir Anthony Evans, what was the most shocking thing for you?
I thought I'd seen it all. I'd had plenipotentiary agents reach me to say, take this money under the table and go. They're trying to bribe the person who's been hired to fight corruption and stop it and bribe it. The most shocking finding was the president of the Court of Appeal of England and Wales, one of the most senior judges in Britain, who was about to retire, and in the proceedings, he said, I'm 82 years old, complete man of integrity. Write the words that he did in the judgment. He says, Broadsheet is a victim of a conspiracy to defraud by the government of Pakistan and by NAB. In my long years with the law and experience of fighting corruption, I have never come across a judgment in a high court in which a judge says a government engaged in stealing from the company that it hired to go and find stolen money. That's what the judge says. That's the most shocking. I thought I'd seen it all at my age. You see, I've got a lot of gray hair. I thought I'd seen it all. Even at my age, I learned something. I learned something. That was pretty shocking.
Right. Mr. Kaveh Moussavi, it's a pleasure talking to you. And I assure you that if I followed the footsteps of Firdausi, Kaveh Moussavi will be the character in my writings.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and one of the pleasures of hopefully serving the 200 million plus people of Pakistan has been that I've come across anchors and television reporters like you who exude integrity. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to the people of Pakistan through your camera.
Thank you very much. I will request you at some other point. Thank you very much. ख़वातीन हज़रात, ये थे हमारे आज के मेहमान, ब्रॉडशीट LLC के CEO कावे मसावी। उन्होंने अपना नुक्ता नज़र भी बयान किया और केस की नौयत भी बताई, और उनके साथ जो हालात और वाक़यात हुए उनका इजहार भी किया। अगले प्रोग्राम तक मुकीम अहमद को इजाज़त दीजिए। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।